they're laying off more of because earlier we had some arena people leave. Now I don't know if that was them seeing the writing on the walls type of deal, or that was just their time to move on. But what do you guys make of it?
I'm honestly hoping that this isn't something so absolutely terrible for WildStar, because from what I've played of it, it's a fun game. I mean, it's not really my cup of tea. I wasn't a huge fan of the concept of going back to the older, more hardcore style of games, but, you know, then the game wasn't marketed for me, and if people like playing that, then people like playing that. So, it's a market niche, and it would suck to see a game die in something like that.
Well, I mean, if I heard correctly, no one was laid off at ArenaNet, so I'm hoping that's good news as far as Guild Wars 2 goes, that Guild Wars 2 is sort of making NCSoft the money that they want from it. It's still a relatively successful game, and they don't feel the need to do that. That's what I hope it means for Guild Wars 2 at any rate.
And yeah, I would think it is interesting. I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it should mean that they're actually making enough money with Guild Wars 2, or Guild Wars 2 is in such a position where if they had done any kind of layoffs like that, it really would have hurt them and hurt the game. So, you know, we might have got a pass on this time. Let's see in a couple of months' time if they come back and do another round of layoffs, and next thing you know, ArenaNet's losing people. But right now, it either means that ArenaNet's in a really good spot profit-wise and money coming in, or they're in a position where things are so shaky right now that if they had done a layoff, it would have killed the game and cost profits to the company. So it's one of two reasons that I can think of off the top of my head, and, you know, it's going to be interesting to watch after Christmas.
Well, and I mean, if anything, it's interesting that they, like we talked about earlier, they actually put in a post about a someone to look at raid content, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that seems like they're moving steps forward in that direction. So, I mean, it's interesting that they're trying to hire people while the other developers in that group are losing people.
I mean, do keep in mind that they do have people walking out the door, though. Martin Kirstein and Kate Welch foremost among them. But
right.
that doesn't mean anything, really.
Yeah.
It just means they might have had a better opportunity. They might have just wanted to move on. So,
right. It's
who
just
can
funny
tell with ArenaNet at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting that as they're leaving, this happens. You know, just kind of keep it in mind.
And like we said, like this is just news in general of NCSoft, and we do wish everybody that lost their jobs luck. But to kind of roll it into our next topic, it seems like they're moving ahead with talking about raids. There is on the official Guild Wars 2 forums, ArenaNet wants to start a CDI about raids. Aaron, can you shed some light on that?
Well, I don't know how much the community's clamoring for this. I know the thread is pretty popular and people are pretty excited about it for the most part, but I don't know that it's something people were asking for. I mean, I feel like all the people who were like, "Oh, Guild Wars 2 doesn't have the raid content that I want," just left. And I don't know that putting raids in will bring them back, simply because it's just not the game for them, even if it does have raids. But with the types of mechanics they've demonstrated with the Living Story, they introduced a lot of new mechanics in it and stuff. I think they could do some great raids. I think raids are an exciting prospect for the game, really. Pretty excited.
Well, I always take the opinion with raids in this game. I don't think it's going to be your typical instance with 5 or 20 people or 50 people or whatever to beat something. I think this is going to be more open world type of things that, you know, events and stuff that will require 40, 30, 50 people to do, and they're just looking for somebody to handle that knows how to handle mechanics and how to do things with those type of contents. I think if everybody thinks this is going to be a 20-man raid and, everybody goes instanced and you're going to go do something, I think there's going to be a lot of people going to be disappointed with it.
Well, to build off of that, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be instanced dungeon-like content. It's entirely possible that they're getting a raid designer for open world stuff, and they also might be thinking about doing instance stuff that is more than 5 people, which honestly I would love to see that come along with maybe a better squad interface so that you can actually see who's in the squad. I know there are some commander chat commands. I don't know if it gives you like a squad list. I really haven't looked into them that in depth.
It doesn't give you a squad list, but like you can do a list to see who's holding
supply. I know that one.
And that gives you a good idea how many people you got around you, because it'll show everybody whether they hold supply or not. So there is a command for that. But one of the developers that snuck into there's a really big forum post dealing with raids, and they kind of came in and said, hey, save it for, clean up the act, because there were some people starting to get a little table flipping. But anyways, they said, we've got the CDI coming out, but it seemed in his discussion that he was really saying Guild Wars 2 is going to do raids, but they're going to do raids with a Guild Wars 2 twist. So take that for what it is. Like I said, I don't believe it's going to be, when it comes out, I know it's not going to be what people are expecting.
I mean, what I would hope for would be taking that, like, WoW's flex rating in the sense of you could take, like, what are they, 25-man dungeons, but you could take,
it was
15,
I think 9
17.
to 25. They're actually applying the flex tech to I think normal and heroic, and then adding a hard cap of 20 for mythic. But you can have, I believe, 10 to 20 people in the next expansion for the normal and heroic raids.
Okay. Well, like, I'd like to have them take a step further, because I've always thought with the WoW flex rating, it was very much like, for example, if it was for a 25-man, it would be like the difficulty would be this, like, 11 through 13. Well, everybody would always take 13, never 14, because that would knock it up to the next tier.
Oh, okay.
I think that's how it works. I could be totally wrong. They could have changed it, but I thought that's how it initially was. But I would like to see, like, something with, like, if they did, like, 10-man raids or something, that they would have, like, the difficulty scale if you all went in with 6 people, different when 7 people. So it would never have that issue. It's a lot of work, but they've kind of did that with, like, their open world content.
The one thing that doing raids already has with Guild Wars 2 is the scaling event mechanics. I mean, if we're talking about an actual instanced raid here, they could basically say, okay, we have this set, so you can go from 6 people to 25 people, just to go, 1+ over regular dungeon groups to an arbitrary number cap. But their event scaling numbers already work, so they already have the tech to scale up based on the number of people that are there. The other thing I was just thinking about is, with the way, and going off of what Roy said earlier about open world content, is if it's going to be a more organized mass grouping of something, you could technically have to divide into 2 groups or more groups to go around and complete objectives at relatively the same time, be it in an open world or in an instance, kind of like the Pact Assault events through Ore.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things
definitely
they could
think
do. Yeah, like the Evolved Jungle Worm. There's all sorts of stuff they can do with splitting people and keeping the numbers to be, I think the hard cap on most maps is like 120, 125 people. They can split that 125 out any way they want, but like I said, I think they just are looking for people that have the ability to figure out how to do that, how to make the mechanics in such a way that A, it's different than what they have, and B, basically keep 25 or 30 people running in one direction while 25 and 30 people have to go the other direction. It just seems to be that's what they're trying to do is come up with these mechanics that make it feel epic on one hand but controllable on the other, and have a level of discussion that has to happen to have it, to be a success.
Now, do you think they would lock these raids possibly behind living story content? Or, because if that's the case, if you miss it, that's basically them putting them in the gem store, I would say. I mean, hypothetically, because if you miss that, 2-week grace period, you would have to pay for that chapter, so to say, to be able to do that.
It's possible they could do that. I mean, everybody wants them to bring back the marionette, and, that would be considered a raid by, pretty much anybody's standards. If you miss that content and you've got to buy it, yeah, you're gonna have to pay for that 200 gems to get that content. It's not hard. I've never considered that to be a big deal, because what's it take to log in, for once every 2 weeks just to make sure your content is kept up. And again, this comes back to retention numbers, obviously. If somebody's mad this week and it happens to be the drop for the content and they're not going to be there, well, now they're not only mad at themselves, they just made themselves mad at ArenaNet because they got to spend 200 gems to get the content again. So, I mean, it's not something that's hard, but again, if you're not being retained, it starts costing money.
Here's what I think they're going to do. I think we're going to see them test a lot of new mechanics in the latter part of Season 2, like they did in the former part of Season 2. And then after Living World Season 2 is over and we have our next intermission, I think we're going to see new guild missions. I think that's where they're going to implement their raid designer. I think that's going to be the first iteration of raids in Guild Wars 2 is a new guild mission mode.
More compelling guild missions.
Yeah, and we're going to see a lot of similar mechanics to what we've seen in the Living Story so far that aren't present in the current guild missions.
That would be welcome. Just having a lot more options, because our guild missions are on Sundays, and it's bounty training, then bounty, then I believe we go for Guild Rush, and then we pick one of, puzzle, trek, and then
challenges.
Yeah, challenges. And just having just a massive amount of options, honestly, would help keep it fresh, I guess is the good way to say it, because, the guild...
More options is more options for
more
guild content.
Because for the bounties, you get it's 1 for the training, 2 for the first tier. Does it go up to 4, or does it just stop at 3?
I believe 3 tiers is as high as it goes.
Yeah.
So, you get up to 3 of the bounties to track down and capture, and doing that over and over again is, one of your core components for a guild mission night. It can get a little tedious because, there's always that one time where that guild bounty you're trying to find just to complete things, you find them right in like the last 30 seconds of the timer. So sometimes people get, a little frustrated with that, so they want to do something different, and just expanding on that variety would be fantastic. So new guild missions, bring that on.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see is guild instances. So there'll be instances that are only accessible to people in your guild who are representing at the time, and that'll allow you to have more than 5 people in an area to do a raid, but it'll only be the people you want in there to do the raid. That would be my guess at what this raid content is going to be implemented as.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see that. Like private, I don't want to say instances, but private zones, basically, was what you're saying.
Maybe an instance version of a zone, or an instance of a part of a zone like you see in the personal story.
Well, going from possibly putting those into the gem store, you'd have to buy that with gold. And yes, I did use that as a shameless segue. Basically, with the last update...
I liked it. It was good.
Basically, with the last update, they changed the gem to gold exchange rate and gold to gem exchange rate without really mentioning it. It was just out of nowhere. Basically, what they did was they had them at fixed increments where you could, oh, do you want this many gems? Well, purchase this many. While prior to, if you're not familiar with it, you could put an exact amount, like how you wanted to pay. Like I wanted 235 gems. It would give me how much that is in gold. So, I mean, they basically removed that fully. I mean, what did you guys think about that initially?
I honestly,
Go ahead, John.
when I read about that, I didn't even notice it because I don't often go to the gem store to actually buy gems. But I saw that and I'm like, that's honestly silly to even have at that point a fluctuating market on the value of gems to gold to go back and forth then, because you're saying you're only allowed to buy this much. People who, play the market, I'm assuming, would find that kind of that's a really big set of chains to put around the entire exchange after it's been sitting that way for the past 2 years. That and, I've been thinking, let me just buy, whatever 5 gold worth of gems is every week, 2 weeks, just, to build up some gems. If something comes out on the store that I want to buy, I can just buy it. So, because, my activity throughout the week, I can definitely make 5, 6, 7 gold. So buying 5 gold worth of gems means I'm still up on gold and, hey, I have gems now. But, setting it so that I have to pay for, what is it? I have it up here.
400.
400 gold. I have to buy 400 gems.
That's the minimum you can buy is 400 gems.
Yes.
Which is sitting at 68 gold right now. So, yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
Which that was the interesting thing, was the excuse that they put out there was with their research and whatnot, they found that not a lot of people use the exact amount type of thing. I mean, I do the same thing that you're talking about, Malfanis, where I will like you said, maybe I'll make 10 gold a week or something, just here and there. I'll be like, I'll throw 5 at the gem store and slowly build up so I can buy things in the gem store when I want. But it was just interesting and threw me for a loop. And, I'm not saying me being one person, that's it, that's 100%, I'm surprised not more people did that, especially with all the dungeon
There's a
farming
lot
going
of
on.
people got upset about it on the forums. And don't forget, we're talking about kind of 2 different things. Right now, what you're talking about is buying them in lots bigger than what people want. There was also some discussion that the actual exchange rate itself, the tax that gets charged for purchasing gems and changing it to gold and vice versa, has actually been raised without any word to anybody. In other words, I think it went up, if I remember the numbers right, it went up 25% what we were actually being charged before.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah, and that's why people are screaming about the chart being missing, because they not only took the small sales of the gems away, they also took away the daily chart, so you can't see what the prices have been doing. The day that this went into effect, you can see the exchange rate jumped, and it went up significantly as far as people were concerned. Now, people aren't talking about that as much. The traders are, and basically, what are they saying? Well, the store was down and then it went up and there's a price difference. Well, that could just be backlogs, orders causing that, and then it's straightened out. But the difference has actually been, it was substantial and hasn't come back down as far as I know. So yeah, it's kind of interesting as to how that happened, and one of the discussion that's not being had on it. But yeah, they finally decided, well, we'll be nice. We're going to go ahead and give you back your, at the end of this, they decided that, since last Saturday, I guess it was, they've decided to go ahead and revert it back. So most of the controversy is gone. It's quieted down, but at the same time, there's still a couple nagging questions. I'm not sure if they said they're going to be bringing back, the minute by minute trading chart, and B, why the exchange rate went up and nobody was asked about it or told about it.
Yeah, what they're saying is that, you know, they'll give you a custom value, but we're not seeing anything about them putting back that graph that you were talking about. So,
but yeah, I think the important thing to make sure we say is, with the outcry from the internet, they have decided. Well, they first said they reverted it, but then when they started talking about it, it was basically they put a button in where it will take you to the, if you want to buy an exact amount. So they didn't revert it, but they have put that one feature back in.
Well, and the main problem I have with them implementing removing the so you could choose the exact amount of gems you wanted to buy with gold and vice versa, is that they have items in their store that are worth less than 400 gems. So that's directly penalizing someone who wants to buy just that item.
Right.
So
well, I mean, you know,
that's
you can't argue
that's
with
the main
a company.
reason I think it was.
Yeah, you can't argue with a company wanting to increase their profits. I mean, that's what this is all about. If you have to buy bigger chunks of gems, you're going to spend more money in the store, plain and simple. If you got to buy,
I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm saying they
right.
shouldn't.
Is it healthy for everybody? We'll find out. But as far as it goes, that was the idea behind it. I'll guarantee you that's just a business decision and retail decision. You know, you can buy a dozen eggs, and sometimes you might be able to get a half dozen. But if you only need a half dozen, you can't get that half dozen, you're going to have to buy the dozen. So it's kind of the same thing. You know, it depends on how the packaging is set. You know, they had an individual sale package, you know, from the beginning. Then they said, well, we're not making enough money. People are let's play for free crowd is winning the game on, you know, playing for free, and they're not making enough money, so they're going to come up with a way to try to beat that game and get some money out of people, plain and simple.
And I mean, I don't think this will account for the huge jump, but we do have to keep in mind when they switched that over, they did add new things to the gem store, which might have helped that gold exchange rate. But I think it did jump like 8 gold at least. So I don't think it was.
Yeah,
I don't think it was exactly all that, but
yeah, I mean, it's not the fact that the gold, it's not the fact that the price changed by so much. It's the difference of what you get changed. So let's say you were doing, for every gold you'd have to give 10 silver. Well, it went from 10 silver to 15 silver or 20 silver to change that gold over. So that's the exchange rate they're talking about, is the tax you're getting paid to do the exchange. And that increased, I think the number I saw was 25% to 25%. I don't know, or it either went up by 25% or increased to 25%. Not sure which. But that was just something I came across in reading, and nobody has talked about it in this whole thing. Was, you know, we're being taxed more to get, you know, less, basically. It's costing us more gold to get gems.
So what you're saying is we should throw our black line chests into the harbor.
Sure. And then when we get down to the next topic or two, we're going to really talk about throwing stuff in the harbor.
No, not the black lion chests. I don't care about
those. But yeah, that's just one thing that came out of the Halloween update. Some of the other ones that just launched on Tuesday. Let's go back. Let's go skip we're going to talk about the skin lottery, which we'll definitely have to explain because that does sound a little weird. But that one is going to be a bigger topic. Let's talk about Zomeros and his secret on the forums. They've been teasing, I think, over the last month or two.
John Smith is awesome, first off.
Yeah, that there were undiscovered Mystic Forge recipes.
Right.
And I think during this Halloween, he came out on the forums and said Zomeros told him a secret, that there was an item for. And
just so people know,
during this.
John Smith is the economist. He just watches the economy and plays with the economy, and it's his baby. He's the Guild Wars 2 economist. He's not a developer. So this was really interesting from that point of view for me.
But yeah, he basically throughout the whole week posted like little stories to give hints towards what this Mystic Forge recipe could be. And I
And they
think
were all little
by
short stories.
Thursday.
It was really well written.
Yeah, it
short
was really
stories.
good. What do you guys think about that way of teasing?
Yeah, I thought it was great. Again, though, I don't want them to rely on out of game ways and memes, but for a one off, it was kind of cool. Specifically coming from somebody whose only job is to make sure the economy runs right. Like I said, my biggest complaint about this game since the start is they tend to use social media and stuff like that to get story out. That's not the way you give story. When the Karka Queen hit and took down the Lion's Arch lighthouse, I came in, I missed that. I wasn't upset. I knew that's how the game was set up. What I was upset about was I couldn't get any of the NPCs to tell me what happened. They were just sitting on their same repetitive stuff and sayings, and I'm looking for information. So it forced me to talk to people. So that's kind of what I figured they were doing with this stuff was, you're going to have to better your communication skills with the real people to get information. But at the same time, I kind of felt like they had a missed opportunity and continue to miss that opportunity throughout all the story seasons. They never utilize the game to tell the story they want.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was my only one downside was they were really trying to push more in-game story, but they put a very interesting story and very creative on the forums, and not a lot of people might venture on the forums, like the possible majority. I mean, I think we all are aware that majority of fan base probably doesn't go on official forums or
God, I hope not.
Fan forums or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually haven't read the stories, so.
It's interesting. I don't know. I think he just made it up. I don't think it's like canonical or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anything canon.
But it was definitely really interesting. Go ahead.
Talking on, methods they use to give out information, just to go specifically about the Mystic Forge, for a crafting mechanic that they could add, I don't know, just, a ridiculous example, they could add hundreds of recipes to on a daily basis. Just, completely, absolutely random stuff. There could even be copies, like the results. You could have, 16 different recipes for one single item. But they could really, have any kind of reveal for that, just because of the sheer bulk of what could actually be there for the Mystic Forge. So that one thing I think is okay, because, then, word of mouth starts getting around and people all go look at it and then things spread around. But for stuff like, story, that I agree, that definitely has to take place inside the game. Or at least you need to know that from something in-game that there is a resource outside of the game.
Yeah, and
I didn't know that there were books. I didn't know there were Guild Wars 2 books until I believe Deo mentioned it to me when I started with GBN. I hadn't seen them on the shelves. I didn't know they existed, and me and my wife went out and bought all 3 of them after we found out about them. But there was no way for us to know that extra literature, that extra information was out there. So I agree that, if you're going to tell a story, you at least need the breadcrumbs to be in-game.
And I don't think we actually said it, but the actual item was discovered, I think, probably Wednesday or not. I think it was actually Thursday or Friday. I think it took about 2 days. But the item was Reaper of Souls, which is a dagger skin, which is used when you put in the Mystic Forge an Eldritch scroll, a foraging sickle, which I believe is from a particular heart vendor, 100 vials of powerful blood, which is our tier 6 blood mat, and 100 mystic coins. Now, do you guys think that's fair thing? I've seen some people complain that, another thing for Powerful Blood, and some other things are going untouched, other resources.
For the skin you get out of it, no, it's not worth it at all. It's a painfully mediocre skin, and 100 vials of Powerful Blood, what they're like 65 silver each. So it's like 65 gold plus whatever else to get this mediocre looking sickle that's just like a lump of whatever.
Well, that's personal opinion on how the skin works.
Is it a sickle?
It's not worth the money. It is not worth the money.
Is it a sickle?
It's kind of sort of a sickle.
Yeah, it's a sickle-ish skin.
Remember that when we get talking about
I think it looks good for... Okay. I think it looks good for what it is. Like, I could see, like, maybe, Dagger Thief, or maybe a Dagger Elementalist using that with maybe, like, a Grenth Hood, or... So I could definitely see it work for, an attire. I'll probably eventually collect it, because I like playing dress up on Guild Wars 2. Yeah. I mean... 100
vials of Powerful Blood. Are you
sure?
Are you sure about this?
Wait,
I am a hoarder.
Wait. We're not even talking about the 100 coins either. You only get one of those a day, right?
I have stacks upon stacks of those.
Yeah, I have stacks of them, but they're
like 2 silver apiece. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's still some stuff you got to give up.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I hoard those. I'd never give them up. I don't know what they're used for. Don't care. I don't sell them.
Yeah, I haven't given any of mine up. They're my treasures. I'm like, I have them in my mind. I guess we'll go on to the idea of the skin lottery now. Basically, what they did with this update, at least with last year's Halloween update, people were clamoring that and really wanted the first year Halloween skins, which I think were a Ghastly Grinning Shield, which was like a really black, shadowy shield with like almost like black mist or flames coming off it. It looked really nice.
It's like black flames.
Yeah. Basically a chainsaw greatsword version, like a chainsaw single handed sword, a scythe. Like, they came out with a bunch of different
gourd
ones.
rifle, I think.
But the thing was, they were RNG in Blackline chests first year. They didn't bring them back second year. People were really wanting them. This year, they came out with basically a lottery system where you can get them in. You can get these foil wrappers in game from random trick or treat bags, and you take that foil wrapper to a Skrit in Lion's Arch, and you basically give him that foil wrapper, and it puts you in for a chance at, I forget how many skins, maybe 1,000 skins amongst all these weapons. So some of them are like 100, some might be 200, whatever. But they will randomly at the end of the 2 weeks draw people's names. I don't know how they're going to do it. They really didn't mention. I don't know if it's just easily automated. I would assume. But then they'll hand those out, and you basically get the skin that way. And
this is gambling. This is gambling.
Yeah, that's the one thing that has surfaced with the idea of, is it gambling? I mean, you can get... They have an item in the gem store that you could pay with real money for a candy that is wrapped in this tinfoil, but the candy inside of it gives you a 10-minute buff that is the same as like the boosters you can get out of the gem store. And then it gives you that foil wrapper to go turn in. So I think the main question is, what do you guys think about what do you guys think about it? Is it gambling, or are you okay with it?
Well, the candy that you can buy for gems, right? It gives you a buff that's equivalent to one of the other boosters that you could buy.
It gives you, well, the buffs the boosters that give you normally in the gem store are 60-minute. These ones are 10-minute, but they are a tenth of the cost. So it does equal.
Is it a food or a booster item though?
I believe it's a booster. When you consume it, I think it says it gives you a random booster. Or a random buff.
So you could potentially stack the effects.
Yes, if it's the same one.
Okay.
And it is cheap. I'll give them that.
I think if you get the foil wrapper from in-game, like a trick-or-treat bag, since it has literally no other use in the game than to give it to the script person or delete it, I don't consider that gambling, because it's literally the only use for it, and you got it for free, so whatever. If you buy it off the gem store, since the foil wrapper is a separate item from the candy itself, that's gambling, because you're spending money for a ticket to throw into
Oh my god, somebody agrees with me.
It's definitely gambling. Do I have a problem with gambling? No, I don't care. I'm not going to do it, but it is gambling. You can't go right.
But it's the same thing as if you bought the same amount to equal the time for one of those buffs, it would be the same price. You're just getting that foil wrapper as a bonus, and it's worthless. You can't trade it. It's not worth anything in game. You can't sell it to a vendor.
Ticket into the lottery. It's not
which is
worthless. 0. No, that has a value. Every one of those tickets that gets put into that lottery has a value. It's equal to the total number of tickets put in divided by the total value of all the stuff given away. Each one of those has a value. The other thing is when you purchase those pieces of candy, you cannot say that, oh, this is a bonus to this. These are two items that are getting sold at a price, so they both have a value. You can value one higher than the other or less than the other or equal, but both of those have a cash value. Now, my thing is it truly legally gambling? No. That is not what it is. It is not gambling on a legal sense because we don't own any of the stuff we're purchasing. If you look at your toss, we own nothing. Everything is owned by ArenaNet. We use it, but we are licensed
to make.
We are licensed to use it, but we do not own it. We can't take something and say that's mine and put it in my pocket. Even if we could, we can't. My biggest problem with this whole thing really is, basically creating a desire to play in a player and doing it in a good way and doing it in a bad way, whether you consider it moral, immoral, I don't want to get into that. But good ways to basically increase people's desires is to add more content. Make things that are compelling in the game, that are fun to do, and, have things in the game that are social to increase socialization. Those are really good reasons and really good things to do for a game to increase the desire in a person to play. My problem is when they get into an addictive behavior and start really reinforcing that behavior is where I have a problem. MMOs have this to start with. Everything we do is some random drop. Everything we do, it used to be in MMOs that I always found interesting was if I killed a dwarf, I would get dwarf related items. If I killed anything, it would be related to that character.
Don't bring that voodoo. Don't
now,
bring that voodoo.
With very little exception in this game, we can kill anything and get anything off of it. The only thing we can't get is stuff like poultry meat. We have to kill certain animals to get poultry meat. We can't get gold off of something. We can't get a stick of gold off or a brick of gold off of something that isn't. Those are the kind of things we can't do. But everything else we can. That's one of the reasons people are complaining is you can't. You wind up farming. You can't farm because there's no place to go farm. You can't hit this one particular
Labyrinth.
item. Huh?
Labyrinth has the tote bags. They drop them for free.
Right. But I'm just saying this is kind of an aside to the discussion. Basically, as we keep breaking the idea of rewards, we keep coming back to random number generation is a reward in and of itself, and it's not. All it's doing is creating an unhealthy desire to play the game. And that's
as long as it definitely gives you something, it is a reward. This is why I consider this gambling, is because after you put that ticket into that draw, if you don't get one of the skins, you get nothing. You
Well,
have
it's
no
RNG
compensation
behind
from
RNG.
that.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the biggest beefs I've got with it. You know,
Like-
you. Go ahead.
Like with the Mystic Forge, you could put 4 exotics in and get a rare. You've lost money, but you still got something back. That's why I don't consider that gambling. With this draw, you either get one of the cool skins or you get jacked. So
Well,
that's why,
yeah,
in
but
my opinion, it is gambling.
Even then, the idea of the Mystic Forge is gambling. It's not that you lose anything. It's that the desire that's being created is for the better item. So you get a little
By the
bump
definition of the word, yes.
So, the thing is, I put 4 items in, I might have a chance to get a better item, or I might get the lucky one of the day and get my precursor. Okay? You're not playing that. You don't care about your inputs. All you're caring about is the emotions from the outputs. And that's, to me, is an unhealthy, is creating unhealthy desires. No matter how you cut it,
Yeah.
you're not the reward isn't what you're getting, it's the feelings you get in the process of getting whatever you get. And that's the really dangerous part of what ArenaNet and NCSoft is playing with here.
What I'm saying is it's something versus nothing. And
right. Yeah,
in the sense of you get something or nothing, that's what I don't like.
Yeah.
But you get that entry for nothing. By
Not
just
if you
playing
buy it
the
on the
game.
gem store.
And I wouldn't have.
But it's
I
the
would,
equivalent. It's the equivalent of a booster. Like that percentage of the difference is the equivalent of a booster. So if you were.
That's before the fact, though.
Yeah, but
It's
you
before
will.
the draw. It's
you
an
will
item
get the
separate
same-
from the draw entirely.
But you will get the same amount of boost out of buying those 2 gem items. You'll get the same time amount. It's the same value. That foil wrapper is a bonus. It doesn't have a extra
But you
value.
wouldn't have gotten it unless you
but
spent the money.
You say it doesn't have an extra value, but what it actually says
It's a
is
package
the
deal. It's not a
boosters.
bonus.
The boosters are worth less because they've got this because they've got the wrapper. That's the opposite side of what you're saying.
But they set it up like that, so we see it as these boosters are worth 250 gems.
Right, and then, again, this is where I'm getting at. More importantly than whether it's gambling or not is they're doing things to create a desire to play, which is really antithetical to what I consider good gaming. What they're doing is by creating this weird desire to win by using RNG, they're playing to the gambling addiction that some people might have or some people might get involved with, which just leads to really bad outcomes when it comes to life for these people. I just disagree with this as being a way to reward. I don't consider it a reward system at all. I just consider it somebody that's trying to influence an addictive behavior to make more money. It really does come down to me as being no different than a heroin dealer giving free heroin to people so that they have to come back and buy it later. It's, to me, the same moral problem and same behavior.
I'll have to admit I was kind of on the fence about it, thinking on it, but now that I'm listening to everybody talk about it, it's those boosters, the candy boosters versus the actual boosters, even with the price difference, it technically is you getting the same gem value for the candy booster that you would get from buying the bigger regular booster, but at the same point, when are you going to buy a booster off of the gem store? I mean, I'll admit I forget to use mine. I have an entire bank tab full of them. I get them just from playing. You get them from dailies, you get them from Black Lion chests whenever you randomly pick up a key. Yes, they do drop. It happens. But have any of you ever actually bought a booster off of the gem store?
No, never have.
I mean,
No, but that
No,
is
but I'm
what they
sure-
are offering in that
Beside
candy.
the point, though.
well, it's
And
but the thing
that's
is,
the
at that
item.
point, you're looking at the candy, and the candy is made inherently more valuable, not because it's the same thing in a smaller chunk. It's valuable because of the tinfoil.
That's right.
So
Exactly.
I get the idea that at that point you are spending gems, which are ostensibly real world currency, though it's kind of a little less impactful since you can get gems with gold. But you're buying them solely for the foil wrapper. Like, that's the only reason you would buy them if you were looking to get a booster, period, the end.
I mean, Roy's had one this whole time, clearly.
Yeah, see?
So we know what side he's on.
I think what it comes down to is the definition that's being used with gamble. Like, I think Roy said at the beginning, legally it's not gambling. But by definition of a gamble of you're taking a chance and there's a risk, that's with video games. Like, should I buy this game? Like, it might not work out.
That's a risk you take with everything that you do. You expect that,
and that's a risk you take
properly.
With putting nothing in there.
But this is the same. This isn't the same thing.
Life
as
is a gamble, kids.
You know, life is a gamble, but it's not the same thing. My whole point to this is reward systems in MMOs in general have stepped further and further away from true rewards for effort done and into the realm of RNG. And in Guild Wars in particular, they've moved things so far into RNG that they're willing to go ahead and just put a lottery in the game, say, here, you can buy the tickets over here, you can get them in here, but we don't care how you get we don't care what you do or how you do it, but just put them in here and you get your chance at your your Halloween things, skins.
Or nothing at all.
But and I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, the reward system itself is getting so diluted that people are willing. And the thing is, people are willing to do this. I put a post up about this in the forums, and more than half the people were quite fine to get this way. And they said, it's a reward. It's why I'm being rewarded. I'm like, no, it's an award. It's not a reward. You have a chance at an award. You have a chance to win a lottery. You don't have a reward for effort put forth or time put in. It's not a reward. It's, you don't get a better chance of getting something or have a set time to get something or do something X number of times and you get rewarded for it. Every time you roll on these tables, it's a set percent. Whether you flip the coin, think of it as a coin flip. You can flip a coin 100 times. 50% of the time, you probably get heads. 50% of the time, you probably get tails. But with RNG, it could actually push one side or the other in a short period into better rewards or better failures, depending on what you're counting. But every time you flip that coin, you still only have 50% chance to get something. So when you're looking at these, at these skins with these really ridiculously low drop rates, you might have a 1 in 10,000 chance every time you kill something to get a drop a certain way. Well, if you miss that 10,000 times and you still haven't gotten it, that's a pretty bad. That's actually not a bad run of luck because you only had supposed to get one. But on the 10,000th and one try, you don't have a better chance of getting that reward. Matter of fact, you still have the same 1 in 10,000 chance of getting it. So
the one thing that I do find a little unsavory thinking on it is that it was something that you brought up earlier, Aaron, with the Mystic Forge. You put those 4 exotics in, you might get a rare out. It sucks, you've lost money, but you still get something. This whole thing is, you're putting effort in, you're getting mostly nothing out. Right. Which is kind of out of step with the rest of what Guild Wars does. Despite the fact, I know you, Roy, dislike the whole fact that precursors themselves are giant, massive balls of RNG.
Yeah,
you still will maybe eventually get a hold of one if you're looking to get one.
Well, not according to my account, because we have proof of this, because my account is unlucky. Because we were out trying to get that Grawl Paw, and there were 14 gotten with 4 other people playing before I got mine. So I know I'm never getting I know my account's cursed. So I'm never getting anything out of it.
I don't think it's unlucky. I think ArenaNet just knows you and just
decides you're not getting a precursor.
But I mean, I just want to say right there, though, I don't think it's if you put 4 exotics in a Mystic Forge, you don't get a rare. You always get the same. It doesn't
Right, you always
downgrade
get-
the quality of the
So
item.
you might get 1 exotic, but 1 exotic is worse
Yeah.
than 4 exotics. Yeah, I misspoke
Yeah.
when I said rare. That's
Well,
my
I could feel the internet,
Well,
coming
see,
for us.
that speaks,
People are watching are like tearing their hair out, like, "Oh my god, it's not true."
I got your
Yeah,
back, guys. I got your back.
That's how little I know about using the Mystic Forge, so.
Yeah, I rarely go to the Mystic Forge as well.
But I mean, I would definitely like to hear other people's stances. I think it seems like now it's 3 against 1. So, and granted, I'm not a fan of this. I just don't see it as gambling in the legal sense of them getting in trouble.
It's not, but it's.
I don't see gambling as a problem.
Either, no.
So
But
the only-
I
the only
don't like
problem-
it. It's
the only-
Yeah, I'm not a fan
Yeah,
of it.
The only problem I have with it, like I said, is it's just rewarding. It's not even rewarding. It's just creating desire to play in a really, really bad way to the players. That's really what it comes down to. If you cannot agree with that, then, we're in, if there's more people that disagree with me on that, MMOs might as well, just switch everything over to a bunch of whack-a-moles in a town. Just go up and beat the moles until they drop something, and go to the next one, beat it till it drops something, because that's really all they're moving towards, is just a total random crapshoot for anything that could possibly drop in the game.
Well, I mean, I think we talked this one to death. Let's go from skins that were in the game and have come back to possible skins that might come into the game. That shaman, I think just today. I think this is muffling me so much.
Such a silly guy.
That shaman has data mined with the newest patch a particular skin that's definitely interesting. Malfanis, would you like to talk about that?
I'm looking at it right here, and I'm just seeing loads of Dervish from Nightfall. Just so much. So very much in this outfit.
I don't think there's anybody disagrees with that one.
And it's funny because the dagger, the Reaper of Souls, kind of scythe-like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, especially because you have Doom Soul
Okay.
Reaper in Guild Wars.
Is anybody going to say it? Is anybody going to say it? Dervish confirmed?
No, never. Never. You will never hear me utter the word
Yeah.
confirmed.
One armor skin. Yeah, confirmed. Okay, yeah.
As much
Oh,
as I would
wait a
love.
minute. Don't forget what we're talking about next.
Yeah, but it's still one outfit or armor skin. I think it's more outfit. I mean, if that's the case, yeah, it's gonna come in. It's gonna be a special bundle with Half-Life 3.
Oh, don't start that. Please don't. But
I'm still
That's the
waiting
table
for
flip
that.
part of this podcast.
it's entirely possible that if they're gonna do a nod to like the Dervish, they might add a scythe as an actual weapon type, which would mean more people getting different weapons. And it's entirely possible that, I mean, the Necromancer, if you were to give a Necromancer a scythe, you're basically looking at a Dervish.
Well, yeah, their number one skill
If I
on...
remember the Dervish properly.
What's
so,
the number one skill on them that changes your staff? Number one staff.
Their
turns it
staff.
into a scythe, yeah. So, yeah, they could
I mean,
actually...
it looks like a scythe whenever you do the casting
Right.
animation, but
Yeah.
if you were to actually be wielding a scythe as like a melee weapon, a Necromancer with a scythe is basically would be a Dervish because they were what, followers of Grenth?
No, a dervish is more akin to a medium armor guardian. Dervishes have a lot of healing magic, and they have a lot of protective boons and
See,
stuff
this
like
is what
that.
I get for not playing Guild Wars 1.
So what you're saying is Guardians get a new weapon set, and no one else is. Perfect.
Yes, exactly. But a dervish in Guild Wars 1 was actually they were an interesting profession because they followed every one of the gods. They had an elite skill as an avatar form for each god. So there's no particular patron god of dervishes.
Okay.
But I
just
think their
remember-
skills were more akin to guardian-like skills.
I just remember earlier on, the skills that I do recall having were mostly ice-based, and that was a Grenth thing, so I guess that's what I was thinking there.
Aaron,
Yeah, they had a bunch of Grenth skills.
Aaron, I love you. That just made me think of something that we're going to talk about in the next segment. But yeah, let's. I mean, let's continue on this, even though I'm frazzled now.
Can I just say before you segue, I think this skin is going to come out when they bump us to the Crystal Desert. Segue.
Ooh. But how are they going to get to the Crystal Desert?
I don't know.
Well,
Have
with
you
the
seen
most
that
recent points
picture?
of I would say with the most recent points of interest, they decided to tease us with I believe they said it was a scene from their teaser trailer, or was it just
No, they with
a
just
teaser?
a screenshot.
Just
We're going to teach you with
yeah,
a
just a
screenshot. That's all
screenshot.
it was.
And
their
it's
closing
interesting.
screenshot.
It shows a back image of a statue, which honestly was quickly identified by, of course, that shaman, who
and
is-
everyone else.
Well, a lot of I think on Reddit, literally Dolphy put it up, and that shaman said, "Oh yeah, I use this all the time when I do data mining and in his program." So that shaman knew it instantly, which I found was so convenient and so hilarious.
Well, I mean,
And
when you showed me, I was able to guess what it was. I'm assuming Multhanus was able to guess what it was. I think you
No,
probably knew it
I
at
had
first
some
sight
trouble
too.
because I couldn't quite figure it out.
I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I just
You
kept
know, I was
going.
looking at it, and I wasn't sure, which is why I asked before we were talking about the show. But I do remember, you guys sent me. You were talking about, a video about dancing with Abaddon in Guild Wars 1, and I'm looking at the back of this statue, and I'm like, was Abaddon's hair like that? Is that Abaddon? And then you're all just like, yeah, it's probably Abaddon.
Yeah, sorry,
And I'm
And
Matt,
you
just-
actually see on the
I'll be honest with you.
I'll
the
say you'll
first
see on the
thing-
stream right now
Yeah,
is the teaser image that
and to be honest,
Yeah.
the first thing I thought of was the old Unreal first-person shooter, and the enemies in that. Just going by that.
What gives them away is Abaddon is the tentacles on the head, and the fact that it's the back of his head is clearly
encased
in a mask. That's how you can tell.
But
Yeah.
basically, let's kind of give a
It's not hair.
background of
Okay.
if you haven't played Guild Wars 1, Abaddon was a fallen god of a human fallen god that really didn't come to notice till Nightfall. And basically, if you notice, he's not one of the gods in Guild Wars 2 that's worshipped. That was basically, spoiler alert, taken by Cormyr. His powers, and then were shared between, I think, him and Lissa. Cormyr and Lissa, I believe, but I could
Yeah.
be wrong.
Well, after the fall of Abaddon, he was the god of water and secrets. After the fall of Abaddon, there's no more god of secrets, and the water duty is passed to Lissa. Lissa doesn't caretake on the secrets front. So when Cormyr defeats Abaddon, we defeated Abaddon, but she took all the credit. She becomes the goddess of truth, and she absorbs the part of him that was the god of secrets. And so, basically all this power was going to destroy the land, and she was the only one that could absorb it because the gods had blessed her before she went to fight Abaddon. And so that's
That's how we
who
created a
Cormyr is.
god. And they stole our thunder.
That's all I ever hear from you Guild Wars 1 veterans is that,
Stole our thunder, plain and simple.
she just walked in there, took all the credit, all the godhood, and then just kind of left everybody else
Well,
standing in the dust.
Guild Wars
Yeah.
2 always
Some people are
had
pretty bitter
a
about it.
great way of telling. I love their stories because every one of the stories could be summed up with the idea that the road to hell is paved in good intentions. Everything we did as a player character did nothing more than make the world worse. And honestly, by killing the dragons, guess what we're doing? The same damn thing. The
Don't
dragons,
remind me of Palo Joko, man. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to unleash Palo Joko.
Palawa Joko was a undead king, or he was
He's
an
a
undead
lich.
leader, lich, and we basically released him to help us, and he's basically killed everything over in Alona as far as we know. So yeah, we were
He's
we're-
taken over in Alona. He rules Alona now.
Yeah, so we basically unleashed a tide of undead in hell in Alona and never have had to own up to it yet. But yeah, so all the stories in Guild Wars 2 have this overarching theme of, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. So I'm waiting to see where we're getting screwed again and what we did wrong.
Well, and let's take a look at what the statue might mean. So, in the screenshot, it's a statue of Abaddon, and you've got this gold architecture all around. And that was the first thing I noticed after the statue was the gold architecture. It reminds me a lot of the architecture you see inside of Augury Rock in Guild Wars 1 in the Crystal Desert.
I'm curious about the sun myself. That's the first thing I kind of came up with is, on that was, are we really talking about the sun spears, or what do we, where is this particular thing? This room.
And it actually goes back to that data mined outfit that looks like a dervish. The thing that's connecting like the buckle for the ropes is like a sun emblem type of thing. So it's definitely interesting. It's not the same sun as the one you see at the top of that, but it's definitely interesting.
Well, I think, and Roy actually mentioned this the other day to me, it stands for Elona, Land of the Golden Sun. That's what Elona is known as. So that's why I think that that statue is somewhere in the Crystal Desert, and that's where we'll be going. If not in Season 2, I mean, it's got to be in Season 2, right? They dropped it as a spoiler for Season 2. So I think we'll be going to the Crystal Desert in Season 2. I think we're going to find this statue of Abaddon. I think it was built by the Marganites, who were followers of Abaddon and who tried to colonize the Crystal Desert. And the reason why the sun tells us this is because the Crystal Desert isn't actually a part of Tyria. It's a part of Elona officially. So,
I do have.
That's what I think that is.
I do have a theory about that because you did ring a bell when you were talking about the dervish before. I think at this time we are definitely getting close to the talking about lore and definitely in the spoiler territory for people. So I think at this time, well, no, that was all Guild Wars 1 stuff, to be
a lot
fair.
of previous history there.
But I definitely think we're going to start talking about the past, Living World stuff. So if you want to avoid spoilers, you might want to end it here. I mean, thanks everybody for coming out. If you're still here with us, I hope you enjoy, because I'm ready. I'm shaking here. So
You are so ready.
So at this moment, this is your last warning. We're going for it. So continue. What do you guys
Forgot
want?
who was going.
Everything.
Well,
what I
I'll
was
throw
going-
this
what I was
idea
gonna
out
say-
here. Oh, okay.
Basically, where I was heading with
Go
this is, throughout Guild Wars 1, we found different statues or places of worship for each of the different deities in different places. Lornar's Pass had, can't remember if it was Granth or
Granth.
it was Granth.
It's Granth, because
And,
you
you
can
know,
enter
so
the
there's-
underworld.
So there's a lot of, and every god had a place that people worshiped. So one of the things somebody brought up, and somebody brought this up in the forum, this isn't my own thought, but I kind of can see where they're doing this, is we never found one for Abaddon. And if Abaddon was such a, we do know people were worshiping Abaddon at different points in Guild Wars 1, so it could very well be that somehow in the Maguma jungle, or whatever it's turned into, because I'm not even sure we're going to find a jungle when we get there, there could be either a new shrine or something like that that has been built by survivors from Elona or whatever. Rather than being in the Crystal Desert itself, we could still be moving westward or even northwestward up into where the Isle of Janthir is in that area, and still be able to pick up the threads of Abaddon. So I don't.
And that's
agree
a valid
with you going
theory.
that way. I don't think we're definitely going in one direction or the other. I think because of the way they've been moving the map, I think we're still going west and northwestward. I don't think they're going to jump all the way over to the east side.
Yeah, we have to go back to the Maguma jungle because that's where Krakatorik's going to rise up. Like, we're gonna go deeper into there. But I still think the Abaddon statue is in the Crystal Desert. I don't know, just everything points that way to me.
Well, and I do too, and this is why it struck me. And yes, I did shave real quick. When you start talking about the dervish in Guild Wars 1, and I kind of forgot about this, but they did worship all the gods. We never came across someone that worshipped Abaddon, like a dervish group. We have a data mined skin, which with data mining, we don't know if it's actual armor or whatnot. It's just kind of like all on a heaping pole there. It could show up as a player or a NPC model. So what if we find the sect of Abaddon dervish followers?
Well, I mean the Marganites worship Abaddon. You mean like human dervish worshippers?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's largely because he was a forgotten god. Not even a lot of people knew he was a thing. Like, he was kind of struck from the histories, as it were. So, what I think the outfit's going to turn out to be is they're going to release it with the Crystal Desert as like a desert garb, some sort of title along those lines, and it'll just be kind of a nod to the dervish.
Well, if they're going to do that, they don't even have to go to the Crystal Desert for that, because, like I said, depending on the influence of Mordramoth in the Maguma areas, we could just be talking about a whole desert area over there anyways, nothing different from Dry Top than, what the Maguma jungle was. It just depends on what they're going to do with it and how they're going to handle it.
And I think the one thing that came out with that teaser image were people saying, "Oh, I hope they don't retcon Abaddon dying."
Well,
and I really don't think he was destroyed in the sense of no longer existing.
No, you can't destroy a god. His powers transferred, but who knows if that destroyed him or if he's still around. What I was going to say is keep in mind we still haven't seen the Abaddon fractal.
Right.
That might be all they're
hinting
hinting at.
People were kind of pointing out that somewhere along the way, Colin Johansson had said something about wanting to put that storyline into the game. So there's some discussion on that. Although there was also somebody that pointed out a link that said they would never put it in the game. So, believe what you want there. The idea of that was supposed to be that it was never supposed to come up again in the game.
Though I also think from a lore discussion, name one god that has been destroyed, killed, defeated. There really isn't one.
No, all the gods even killed by...
Well, that one was only found in a data file and was never put into lore, I don't believe.
It's dead.
Okay. But I mean...
Yeah, Menzies,
Doom,
all of them, they're still around.
They were just basically stripped of their power and for Doom was put in the underworld. Abaddon was put in the realm of torment. So, I mean, none of them were truly destroyed, defeated, eradicated from the universe of Tyria.
Yeah.
And I've always said this, like we talk about how they always said there was a lore reason Tequatl became more powerful, which is an undead type of dragon Zhaitan fell. Underworld, when you look at the Shadow Behemoth next time you're in Queensdale, look at how similar that looks to the Abaddon fight. And some of those void, what are they called? The void walkers, I think. They're the big balls of mist. They have the eyes like Abaddon's followers.
Shadow Fiends.
Shadow Fiend. So
honestly, the whole Tequatl getting stronger thing, I hope that was just them hinting at the fact that they might be going back to revisit the Zhaitan fight and make it a little less
weak,
anticlimactic.
Well,
not so much weak, just anticlimactic.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I see that they're trying they've hinted at, and we've got no idea what they're talking about, is when going through Omad's machine, what really happened to the Zhaitan energy after Zhaitan was killed. We know it went back into the mix of magic within the world, but we don't know where it went. We don't know how it's affecting things, and they haven't said anything about it since then. People have kind of glossed over that whole discussion as to, the floating balls in Omad's machine and that one ball going back into the middle. everybody's kind of pointing at that and saying, oh, that's supposed to be Mordemoth. But the only one that we've killed, and it lines up with that, with that orb in the sequence is, I don't know.
Zaitan?
Zaitan. Thank you. Zaitan.
You're
so,
welcome. And that's the one thing we know. In the story, after you finish that part, it does say it's connected to the Elder Dragons.
Right.
Like
so,
those orbs lighting up. So we do know there's a connection there. We don't know if that's the order they woke up in, like those orbs corresponding. So, but it really seems like it. And yeah, I definitely think that the idea of the orb falling isn't Mordemoth falling. First off, because it doesn't work with the orbs lighting up. It's more of the power of Zaitan, which was, death, kind of poison type of thing. Like, it fell back into Tyria. And maybe that's why Tequatl became more powerful. That's why, I don't think this is a reason, but for some reason the Shadow Behemoth now spawns 13 portals instead of 3.
So what you're saying is it's possible that with Zaitan destroyed, it's possible his power was redistributed to everything that was fueled by what he controlled?
Could be.
That's my speculation, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or ways people want to go with that?
Well, going back to Rytlock jumping down into the mist, the Abaddon statue correlates nicely because the Realm of Torment is a place in the mist. And
don't forget the
what
map.
if Rytlock jumped into this? What if he jumped into this portal and he found himself in the Realm of Torment? It's a stretch, but it's.
But it wouldn't.
Well, we were talking
But
about
it wouldn't
that,
be the
not
Realm
really,
of Torment
because
anymore.
Well, yeah, it won't be the Realm of Torment, but at the same time, it's also he's of all the characters, he's probably the one tormented most by what's happened in his life, whether it's his relationships or it would kind of be fitting that that's where he wound up. Now, what he would be doing there, I have no clue.
Who knows
Raza?
what it is now, though? Like, who knows if the gods are still caretaking over their realms in the mist or not? Maybe they've just went to do something else entirely. The point is that if we do go to Elona, there's a... I want to go there. There's a a portal in the arid sea at the southern tip of the Crystal Desert that'll take you to a place called Crystal Overlook in Elona proper, and that leads right to the Mouth of Torment, which was the place where Zaitan was defeated by the 5 gods, and there is a portal there that will take you to the Realm of Torment. And so that could be a reason to go to Elona, to get to this portal, to take us eventually to the Realm of Torment, to potentially chase after Rytlock. That's kind of a harebrained theory of mine. I don't think it'll go that way, but it's an option.
Well, the mists themselves, it's basically an infinite number of places, right?
They're planes. They're different planes of existence.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some of them reflected, some of them aren't.
So there's literally an infinite number of places that could happen there that you could hop from over and over and over. So what you're basically saying is Rytlock is starring in a Tyrian version of Sliders.
Yeah, I think we could all agree with that.
Okay, got it.
Well, but also keep in mind he's chasing the sword into the mist. So where might the sword go in the mist? It's a flaming sword. It was made in a Ra. It was gifted to the Aspelonians by the Orions. So it could go to the Fisher of Woe, because Balthazar is the god of war. He has a fiery sword. That would make sense. It could go to the underworld, maybe to chase after Prince Rurik, who's probably in the underworld at this point. It could go to the Realm of Torment. I don't really see why, but my main vote is the underworld for where Rytlock went. That's really where I think he is in the underworld.
And I definitely think it would be interesting because ArenaNet really likes to be like, everybody joked about Scarlet and all of her alliances, but there was an alliance basically prior to Guild Wars 1 that people really don't talk about or mention, and we slightly hit upon it, was Abaddon, Doom, and Menzies. They basically had an alliance, and I think they even used that for the Tomb of the Primeval Kings in Guild Wars 1. And that was some of the forces creating that nightfall in that zone, which is in the Crystal Desert, very close to Glint's lair in the story, where they kept it, which really seems close to what we're dealing with in the living story this time. So there's like a Glint, Crystal Desert, really bridging that gap there. So who knows?
Plus, the Zephyrites are followers of Glint. I could definitely see them taking us to the Crystal Desert to give us to show us something or to give us some sort of information that they have. And they could be the ones that show us this Abaddon statue and be like, look at this crazy riddle that this statue has or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
here's the thing. If you think about the Zephyrites as having been going to someplace from someplace, they had just left the Sanctum, which is over towards the Crystal Desert. They crashed over in Maguma, so they weren't heading to the Crystal Desert. They were heading towards the Maguma Desert, or the Maguma area. So, that is why I'm thinking in the long run we're going to wind up keep pushing that way. And, we know that they have
why can't we push both ways, though?
Well, because I would say yes if we found ourselves running back towards where we came from with the leader and whatever he was carrying, but we were running away from where we were going, and his travels kept pushing, moving him further and further west, not east. If he was trying to get to the desert, he certainly wouldn't be going away from it on foot. That doesn't make a lot of sense. You know what I mean? We would have started someplace and headed east, not the other way. So I'm kind of still thinking.
But
you see what I'm saying?
they're kind of. Yeah, go ahead.
They started, from from where they were at. If they were going to go to the Crystal Desert, they certainly wouldn't have headed west. They'd have taken gone straight over to the Crystal Desert from where they were at. It was a lot closer. They were almost there, really. So the fact that they came halfway across the continent to where they felt, where they were knocked out of the sky, and they were saying that they were knocked out of the sky because they were heading someplace that, and the guy that knocked them out of the sky was saying he was, going with them. They were heading in the wrong direction. So whatever the...
I'm not saying they were always headed for the Crystal Desert. I'm saying maybe now we need to go there, now that, Mordremoth's coming up and, stuff's going crazy. Maybe now they need to take us there, because we can't get in there as of right now. It's kind of...
Yeah, if whatever they're trying to attempt can't be finished where they were going, they're going to have to backtrack to where they can do it, obviously. Okay, I can agree with that. It'd be a major change of plans on their part, which... when their ships got blown up out of the sky, that makes a major change of plans. But if it'll depend on where they were going, what they were doing, and what they needed to do there. As far as I know, when he left, I felt that he went west. He kept going in the direction they were heading. I don't remember him saying anything about having to change his plan. His plan continued on, and he told us it doesn't matter what the people would say because they already know what the plan is. Those that need to know, and those that don't care. And they don't need to. So I'm going to continue on with what I'm doing, and off he went. And like I said, I just felt that because the whole path of what we did tracked westward, he's moving in a westward direction. And that's only going to take us to the Maguma Jungle, down to either Magus Falls, or up to places we have not been in the game. Or he's going to one of the stones.
We're definitely headed into Maguma. There's no doubt about that. We're going there for sure.
How they would get us from there to the Crystal Desert, I have no idea. That's kind of why I'm lost on that. I would love to go to the Crystal Desert.
I think it'll. Keep in mind, Mordremoth has tendrils that can reach pretty much all over the continent. So, they sent us all the way to the Iron Marches. They sent us all the way, here and there. So they could philander up a reason, to go to the Crystal Desert.
They could pull.
And I definitely think we're slowly running out of time. Well, not slowly, quickly running out of time.
Yep.
Final thoughts on this idea.
I'm just
Abaddon's
super
involved.
excited to learn.
That's all I can say.
Like I've said before, I have touched on the three campaigns, the first three campaigns for Guild Wars 1, and the more I hear you guys talk about it, the more I really just want to go back and at some point get through all of that just so I can get all the information. But all of this just sounds like a whole lot of interesting stuff going on, and I'm just excited to get more of it.
So what
Yeah,
you're saying
I'm
is you want
hoping-
more time, so you want ArenaNet to not update their content so you have more time to go back to Guild Wars 1, right?
No.
Right.
Great
No,
plan.
yeah,
I
that's
like
great.
it.
Yeah, that sounds what it sounded like to me.
Okay, yeah.
Don't ever. No, please, no.
But yeah, I'm just hoping that, is a kind of an aside and a tangent on this. I just hope that ArenaNet can start delivering on the living story the way that people want them to. A lot of people, I would like to see a lot more content, a lot more big content on this stuff, and I don't see why they can't really do that. They don't need people are like, they got to put out an expansion. They don't need to put out an expansion, as long as they can keep a better pace and better quality output on the living story. That's just what it is. I just hope they can get that.
I think they've hinted too heavily at Alona to not deliver on it. I think if they don't deliver on it, it'll be not Alona, but the Crystal Desert rather. If they don't deliver on it, it's just going to be a giant troll to the community. But I wanted to talk about Anise and crazy theories people have about her, but we obviously don't have time.
Yeah, we're
Next
really...
week, folks, talk about
Yeah,
Anise.
stay tuned for that.
Promise.
It's a lot of interesting stuff. As usual, we
Just next
we
weekend.
never save enough time for lore.
The lore the discussion starts and it just kind of goes that way.
A pretty decent discussion today, though. I liked it.
Yeah, definitely. And on that note, I would like to thank everybody for coming out for the stream, listening on the audio version, and I would like to thank my guests today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was fun.
cool. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
We're happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And Aaron, where can you be found?
I'm a former monk.wordpress.com. I write crappy fan fiction there for Guild Wars. So if you like
Happy.
You like-
Pretty good.
if you like crappy fan fiction, I mean, feel free to get that up. And I'm at Guild Wars Monk on Twitter. I'm done being weird.
Roy, where can they find you?
You can check my YouTube channel at Schadenfreude Productions, and I'm on Twitter at Roby62.
Malthanis, where can they find you on the internet?
They can find me at MalthanisMMO on Twitter.
Oh. And you can find me at simply_Deo on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. But also you can find all of us at the Guild Wars 2 Guild over at GameBreakerNation.com. We're not just the Guild Wars 2 Guild. We have Final Fantasy XIV, Elder Scrolls Online, World of Warcraft, League of Legends, and a Minecraft community. We just keep growing with members like you. So if you are interested at all, there's a lot of those games are coming out with expansions. You need a group to run with. I mean, these are MMOs. It's no fun playing alone. So head on over to GameBreakerNation.com, sign up, and we will see you in the game.
See ya, everybody.
Take care.
Have a
guys.
good night,
It was fun.
everybody.
See you.
And then we were quiet. We win.
I'm not sure. Is it over?
Yeah, we're good, guys.
Okay, so there was feedback in the middle of the podcast, and I don't know if it was me or not.
I didn't hear it.
I started
I
hearing a
heard
little
it
bit
for
of it.
sure. I realized my volume was at max for the sound coming into my headphones, so I thought it might actually be so loud that my mic is actually picking it up coming through my headphones, but I wasn't sure, so I turned it down. I don't know if it was me or not.
It's all your fault, Aaron.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah, I don't
Blame
know
me,
how we're still live, but I killed the local recording. I had some problems with First I didn't notice this, so I ended up going in and fixing it. I was streaming it, like, for some god-awful reason, I was streaming, like, 432p. Oh, so I changed that, but that caused me to have to go offline. But that was the second thing that happened. It just randomly disconnected me. I got dropped frames, and then all of a sudden I was just couldn't move the video on stream for a little
It
bit.
happens.
But I didn't interrupt you guys. I just got it, and then there was like a 10-minute gap where I had to turn it off. So the local recording is all messed up and it's missing chunks. But that's fine. It's a pilot. I didn't really care.
We care.
I kind of figured it out. I think, Aaron, you were doing an audio recording, right? Or were you?
Yeah, I may or may not have fucked that up and left off the first 10 minutes, but we can